Joining us now is Keith Smart. You can follow him on Twitter at KeithSmartNBA. Great follow. Join over 108,000 other people that do it. There's a reason why we all do it, is because it is great, up-to-date knowledge on the NBA. Keith, how you doing? How you enjoying the off-season news lines and summer league so far?
I'm doing well, but it's Keith Smith. I didn't make any shots in the NCAA.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry, Keith Smith. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. If I had $1 every time they did it, I could retire today. So it's all good.
I apologize. And as somebody who's talked to you enough, over the years, not just on this station, but my previous station, you think I wouldn't be the one of those guys that makes that mistake. But Keith, I do want to just kind of start with the latest of what's possibly going to be the future of the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie opts in, KD demands a trade. And when it comes to KD, how much is he really worth in his mid-30s now as far as, getting anything long-term from him? I mean, still has 4 years left on that deal with the Nets.
I think we're starting to see by how slow this trade market has been for him that it may not be what we once thought it was for KD. I think, there's a couple things that go into it. One is it's a lot of money over the next 4 seasons. You're talking, $40+ million every season for the next 4 years. And then the other thing is, unless you're one of the teams he said he wants to go to, there's no guarantee you're not going to end up in the same spot the Nets are in, where it's, hey, I'm not happy here and I don't want to be here either. So that's something that teams are weighing. And then the Rudy Gobert package that the Utah Jazz got kind of threw everything out of whack, because if there was anything close, that made the Nets have to take a step back and say, all right, Rudy Gobert is a good player, defensive player of the year, all-star level guy. We're talking about Kevin Durant. He might have been the MVP of the league if he had stayed healthy. So that's all the stuff that's making this a very, very complicated trade process.
And right now, all the focus is on the KD side, but are you hearing anything around Kyrie's camp? What is he wanting? I mean, there's been thrown out the possibility of the Nets just getting rid of both, starting over, getting in all these different draft picks that you're going to be able to get for these guys, and maybe some young talent out there in the league that may pan out. What's the Nets kind of thing? What do you think the Nets are thinking on the Kyrie front?
Yeah, everything that we're hearing is they're focused on trying to get a trade for Kevin Durant done first, and then they'll move on to Kyrie Irving after that. But I think the challenge is there really seems to be a market of one right now for Kyrie Irving, and that seems to be the Los Angeles Lakers. So if they're not going to make the deal, then it's a little unclear, all right, who is that? Who's going to be the team that says, all right, you know what, we'll make the trade if it's not the Lakers. And the Nets, I think they're going to see part of why they've got to wait is let's see what we get in the Kevin Durant trade, because if we are moving into a more of a rebuild phase versus a reset phase, then what we have to think about is, all right, well, then maybe we're willing to take on Russell Westbrook, the contract, versus Russell Westbrook, the basketball player, in exchange for draft capital moving forward. And then we can kind of, move things along that way. But right now it's just kind of messy because, they do really kind of go hand in hand with those two guys, because the Nets have to know, all right, this is where we're positioned to go in the future. Not just this upcoming season, but the next couple of years down the line.
And you bring up Russ, and he's one of these interesting players because we've seen what we know what ability he has, right? We know what type of player he can be. Has he just simply lost it? Has Father Time gotten the best of him a little bit earlier than we all kind of expected it to?
Yeah, it may have. I mean, his jump shot's been shaky for a while now. His defensive effort has kind of come and gone for a little while now, but he still was a guy who was able to, overpower most other guys physically, especially in transition and driving to the basket and the like. And last year, that kind of dropped off. And we do sometimes see with guards in the NBA, especially the explosive athletic guards, that when it goes, and it's just gone. And that's it, and that's how it is. But it was a weird fit last year for him. With LeBron James and Anthony Davis, even though they didn't all play together all that much. So that also makes it, a little bit of an odd situation there. So I think if we see him get free, get to a different situation, we'll know a lot more if he really has anything left or not. But right now, all signs are pointing to this is probably what it is. and it's probably, headed, really quick to the end here for Westbrook. Not to say he might not still have another couple productive years in him, but he's not ever going to get back to that all-star nightly triple-double carry team kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. And one more kind of older player in the NBA before we get to the young hotshots that we're seeing around the NBA Summer League and everything going on there with Damian Lillard. He's going to be staying in Portland, going to remain there. Do they have a plan to bring in enough pieces around him, or does old Dame time just feel like the clock's going to eventually run out on him and he's going to be on one of these top 5, top 10 lists of greatest players to never win one?
Yeah, we're going to see with that one. That one, a lot of people are drawing parallels between him and Bradley Beal, but there are some differences. In the Bradley Beal case, it was, hey, we'll get paid now, and then if it's not working out a year or two from now, he can always ask for a trade, and everyone's going to say, all right, you gave it a decade, no problem. In Damian Lillard's case, each time we've kind of hit that same point of, hey, no one's really going to blame him if he says, hey, I've done it for a decade plus, I'm ready to go try to win somewhere else. I think he then has turned around and extended and added to his contract. And he said the other day, he wants to win a championship in Portland, but if it doesn't happen, he can feel good knowing, hey, I did everything I could to try to make that happen. And I think there's some truth to that. I think he really is the kind of guy who says, this is it for me. I want to be here in Portland, and the Trailblazers are going to do everything they can to put winners around him. The challenge is, when he's making, 35, 40% of the salary cap, that's more difficult. But in the future years, by locking him into this money now, that money won't be so crazy because the cap is going to go up over the next several years. So they may be better positioned to add some talent around him than they have been in prior years.
He's on to the Summer League, and I get caught up in it like everybody else because it is so misleading when you watch the Summer League because across the front of their jerseys, it says Grizzlies, Suns, Warriors, Celtics, Knicks, Lakers, but it's not really the NBA because obviously we know who's playing it. Some of these guys are going to play in the NBA. Some of these guys are going to play in the G League. A lot of them are going to be playing in Europe and other leagues around the world. So the competition isn't there. How much do you truly pay attention and kind of buy stock in a player off of what you see him do in Utah and Vegas?
Yeah, I had a former scout who then turned into a coach tell me years ago that Summer League doesn't tell you who can play, but it'll tell you who can't play pretty quickly. And one of the things is that people forget. Sometimes people go the other way, too. They get very nervous that player hasn't looked great doing X, Y, and Z in Summer League. And sometimes it's, hey, all we want you to do is focus on being a distributor, or we want you taking off the dribble jumpers and those kind of things because it's live reps, live action to do things that maybe the player hasn't done before. And then on the flip side, yeah, I get caught up in it too. When Chet Holmgren looks amazing and Paolo Banchero comes out and plays great, and then we got James Wiseman last night, looking terrific for the Warriors. It's easy to get caught up in it. And I kind of tell people, let yourself go. It's fun. It's the last basketball we're going to get. Here we got about 6 days left of it. It's the last, hoops, NBA hoops we're going to get for 3 months. Have fun with it. It is what it is. But just know, when we all regroup in the fall here in October, that when it's for real, some of that stuff's probably not going to translate. Some of the guys who looked really good in Las Vegas in July are going to be playing at the end of the bench or in the G League and things like that. But, you want to just, guys look good, great. That's better than looking bad, but let's not get too crazy.
Mm-hmm. And we'll start with Chet Holmgren. How do you think his Summer League appearance has been? Because there has been really good, games and moments that he's had. But then there was also moments where, Kenny Laughlin Jr. kind of really was able to back him down and tear him apart in the paint. Now, I'm not going to be like so many others people on Grizzlies Twitter and say that, this is Kenny Laughlin's the next Zebo and start coming up with all the weird and crazy nicknames that I've seen for him. But on the OKC side, because that's probably, if not 1A team in the state of Arkansas, how has he looked as the Thunder been vindicated for taking him number 2? Because I think most people going in thought he was 1 through 3 anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, they didn't overdraft him by any means. He went right, in that range. I had him right up there with Bankero and Smith, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Holmgren, other than the Lofton game, where you could tell Kenny Lofton had a little bit of, I'm going to show people some stuff here, and then really put an effort in, backing Holmgren into the goal a couple times. He's held up physically, and that's the number one thing, we're going to be watching, for the next, little bit here in Summer League, and then we're going to be watching all the way into the fall when it's for real for the Thunder, because he is so skinny. So we're going to be watching to see, can he hold up? It's funny because I hear, people yell and scream about, I'll never be anything in the NBA because he's way too skinny and he'll never hold up. And I look at it, and I'm not saying he's going to have the career that Kevin Garnett had, but that was the same stuff everybody said about Kevin Garnett. Is he'll never be big enough to hold up. He's just going to get shoved around. He's too skinny. Guys are going to push him around. And Garnett ended up becoming one of the best defensive players we've ever seen in the game. And I think Holmgren's got, he's got special timing with the shot blocking. Even when he does get pushed back, he's so long that he's able to recover and still get, a piece of the ball, or at least, kind of impact the shots. And his offensive game is really good. He knows how to play. He's a good passer, good cutter, and he's a pretty good outside shooter, too. He's got a, nice touch on his jump shot. So he's very much a modern big man, and I think the Thunder, are in really good place with him.
Mm-hmm. Now, Keith, we are in the natural state, so I got to get your opinion on some of the young former Arkansas players, and let's just start with the guy that's in OKC, Jaylin with the Y. Williams signed the 4-year, $8.2 million deal, better known as J. Will. What have you really seen out of him, and has anything impressed you from Jaylin Williams with the Y?
Yeah, he's an NBA level guy. He's another good find by the Thunder. They're going to throw him into that very crowded front court mix there, and it'll be they're still going to be probably in a rebuilding season. So there'll be nights where, all right, Holmgren, we're going to fit you in, then it'll be Jaylin Williams' night to go. But those two guys going against each other are only going to make each other better. Playing that way for probably at least the next few years together. And I think Jaylin Williams was a guy who was underdrafted. I thought he might go late in the first round. I thought he had that kind of ability. He's kind of all the stuff you want from a big man, plus his jump shot shows signs that it's going to be pretty good eventually as long as he works on it. So between the Thunder and then the Oklahoma City Blue of the G League, he's going to get a lot of reps, a lot of minutes, and that's what he needs. He's just a little bit raw, but he can play.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you, Keith, obviously when there's two on one team, you got to ask, what are your thoughts about Moses Moody, obviously for our first round pick last year, won the NBA Finals with Golden State, didn't play all that much, but I think has a bright future. And do you think that former Arkansas guard J.D. Notae has any staying power in the NBA, or is he a G League or Europe type of guy?
Yeah, I think J.D. Notae is going to land in the G League, and we'll see him work his way up through there, and that's perfectly fine. The G League it's a really good path now. We saw last year, a lot of it was because of the COVID impacted stuff. We saw, hundreds of guys get called up from out of the G League, and it's proven that as long as you go there, you work, you put in the effort, it's good, because that's the closest you're going to be to an NBA spot. And sometimes guys get there, they show, hey, I'm really good, but I'm never going to quite make the NBA, and then they go and earn a ton of money overseas, which is perfectly fine too. As far as Moses Moody goes, yeah, the Warriors love him. They're very high on him. They think he has a chance to be, another, player right in that pipeline. And they've got, a super young bench with him and James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga. They added Dante DiVincenzo. They've still got Jordan Poole. That's all behind the main guys, Curry, Thompson, Green, Looney, and Wiggins. So it's a very young bench, and they're going to do everything that they can to get those guys some minutes. I think you're going to see that team rest their veterans pretty extensively, and on those nights, that'll be when Moses Moody will have a chance to shine.
Mm-hmm. We'll leave it there, Keith. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to talk some NBA with us, and we'll have to get you back on here in the next few months as we get ready for the 2022-2023 NBA season.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.